this sprint, we'll talk about your role in each Scrum event. As a Scrum Master, you're a servant leader who leads all the Scrum events, but in a way where you support and encourage the success of the team versus command and control type of leadership. Originally, this was a hard type of leadership for me to learn because mostly I'd only seen command and control types of leadership in the past. But I was and still am deeply committed to supporting people's success and supporting them to succeed. I'm betting you are too. So don't be intimidated by the fact that your responsibility as a Scrum Master is to lead all the Scrum events, because you'll be doing this as a facilitator committed to helping others succeed versus using a traditional outdated form of command and control leadership that really doesn't work that well anyway. So our goal in this sprint is for you to get the big picture of your role in each Scrum event using Quinn's story. By the end of the sprint, you'll feel confident that you know your key responsibilities in each Scrum event. So back to Quinn. She was gradually starting to feel more confident about actually doing Scrum Mastering versus just knowing the theory from training. Every day, she'd been building her Scrum Master muscle by refining her personal backlog. She chunked down her bigger items, prioritized, and estimated using the techniques from this program. Until one day I said to her, "Quinn, you've been doing so well. You're ready for the next step, prepping to lead a team in the Scrum events." She looked unsure and said, "But I'm not there yet." I said, "Don't worry, you're just prepping to lead the Scrum events, not actually doing it yet." So remember from training how there's 5 Scrum events? There used to be 4, now there's 5. It's your job to lead the team in those, all of them. So let's review them and your role in each. So they include sprint planning, the sprint, and then the daily stand-up, the sprint review, and the sprint retrospective. Backlog refinement is separate. So let's start with the sprint. You're going to facilitate that to happen successfully. It's a time-boxed event, usually 2 weeks. You make sure it contains all the other events. Next comes sprint planning. It's your job to help the team decide which stories they want to plan into the sprint. So imagine yourself saying, "Team, which stories do you want to move from the product backlog to the sprint backlog?" And you might think this is weird, but when I was just getting started, I used to practice saying this out loud just to get the feel of it. So you might want to try it with your mirror, your cat, your dog, or your spouse. So what's the next event? If you guessed the daily Scrum, you got it right, aka the daily stand-up. I told Quinn, this is a tricky one. Sometimes newbies treat it like a status report, but is not. Instead, it's the team checking in with each other on how are we doing against our sprint goal. A common format is that each person briefly states, what I did yesterday against the sprint goal was blah, blah, blah. What I'm doing today against our sprint goal is blah. And then they list the blockers needing removal. So now let's move to the next event. Can you name it? If you guessed the demo or the sprint review, you nailed it. You help the team demo what they're delivering in the sprint review and get stakeholder feedback. And finally comes the event that many people say is the most important, the sprint retrospective. And by the way, this is a really common Scrum Master interview question. What's the most important Scrum event? Answer, retro. It's your job to facilitate that to happen at the end of each sprint and to invite the team to discuss 3 key questions. What should we keep, stop, or start? And there's various formats, but this is the most common. Keep means what went well that we should continue doing. Stop means what didn't go well that we should stop doing. And start means what could we start doing that would make things even better? Okay, so now it's your turn. Find a creative way to remind yourself of the 5 Scrum events. You own these. For instance, Quinn wrote each of them on a sticky, then stuck them on her refrigerator where she'd see them each day, several times a day. Looking at these dailies started to build her confidence for the interview and beyond. So find an easy-to-notice, visible way to remind yourself of the Scrum events and put that in your environment where you're going to see it every day. That will serve you well for your interview and beyond. So our goal in this sprint was for you to get the big picture of your role in leading each of the Scrum events using Quinn's story. By now, you should understand your key responsibilities in each Scrum event. In the next sprint, you'll continue with practical basics, where together we'll go through how you can lead sprint planning in real life versus just in training.